Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. Erev Tov, everybody. Good to see everybody again. Welcome to another edition of Thursday night, Parashat Shavua class. Joining us live here, all of you around, delicious hamin around us to enjoy, and those listening online, live, Beruchim Habayim, and those listening in the future on the recording on the podcast, findingholiness.com. We're glad to have you. Good to see everyone. And we are studying the Parashat Shavua, Parashat Kedoshim. Tonight's sponsor, we would like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Michelle Ohana in memory of her mother, Mrs. Meni Abichzer, Zichrona Livracha, and as well as the entire Abtan family in memory of their dear uncle, Mr. Nasim Abtan, Zichrona Livracha. The words of Torah that we say this evening, Bilulu Nishmatam, Tina Sham Tzurura, Bitzror HaChayim, Parashat Kedoshim, is one that is filled with many mitzvot. It is a holy parasha, no pun intended. And there's so much to talk about, so much embedded in the parasha. You have, of course, Ve'afta l'reacha kamocha, ze klal gadol b'Torah. We'll speak about that on Shabbat, Bezrat Hashem. We have the mitzvah of rebuke, hocheach tochiach et amitecha. But we're going to focus today on the beginning of the parasha, and a connection that is brought down with regard to three different mitzvot that seem not related in a way, although we will learn Rashi and see his explanation, but attempt to go a little bit deeper in our understanding of three vital elements that are brought down at the beginning of the parasha. So the parasha begins as follows: Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. So Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, speak to the entire assembly of Bnei Israel and say to them that you shall be kadosh. Kedoshim to you. This is a mitzvah. You have to be kadosh. Ki kadosh ani Hashem lokechem. Because I, Hashem, your God, am holy. Okay, so that is mitzvah number one. Next pasuk. Ish imo ve'aviv tirau. Every man shall revere his mother and his father. Ve'et shabbatotai tishmoru, and you shall observe my Shabbatot. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem your God. And these three mitzvot are juxtaposed. Kedoshim to you, fear your mother and your father, keep Shabbat. And this can be explained, this connection, the juxtaposition between these three mitzvot can be explained in a Gemara Masechet Kedoshim. The Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan. The rabbis taught in a bright, Ne'emar kaber et avicha v'timecha. In the Aseret HaDibrot it says, honor your father and your mother. V'ne'emar kaber et Adonai me'onecha. It also says, honor God with your property. The Gemara says, Hishva hakatuv kevod av va'em lichvod hamakom. The Torah equates the honor of God with the honor of your parents. And as well, Ne'emar ish imo ve'aviv tirau, v'ne'emar et Hashem Elohecha tira ve'oto tavod. It also says with regards to reverence, with regards to fear, that a person has to fear his mother and his father, and as well, you have to fear Hashem, your God. Hishvaka tu morat av va'em lemorat hamakom. V'chen badin sheloshtan shutafin bo. And it makes sense, because the Gemara says, the three of them are the partners in creation. Hashem, of course, creates the soul of human beings, and the man and the woman create the flesh and blood of their child, and they're partners in creation. Therefore, since there are three partners in creation, at a time if man is to honor his parents, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God himself says, I consider it as if I lived among them and they honored me. So if you honor your parents, God looks at that and he says, you are honoring me because we are all partners in the creation of you. So that's one. There we see a connection clearly with the concept of revering one's parents and making yourself holy because Hashem is holy. And as well, Rashi brings down a connection between the mitzvah of fearing your parents and Shabbat. Rashi says that the reason why the commandment of Shabbat is brought right after the commandment to fear your parents is because should your parent tell you, one of your parents or both your parents tell you to be mechalel Shabbat, to desecrate the Shabbat, don't listen to him. You're not allowed to listen. Now, you have to ask the question. My father tells me go and plant a tree, but Dad, it's Shabbat. But you have to listen to me. Kaperet avicha, right? You have to listen to me. So no, you don't listen to him based on this. And same with all other mitzvot. I am Hashem your God. V'shabbatotai tishmoru. You keep Shabbat. Ani Hashem Elokechem. You and your father are both obliged to honor me. So yes, you are obligated to honor, listen, and respect your father. But remember, Ani Hashem Elokechem. Your father is still obliged to respect me. And if I say, Et Shabbatotai tishmoru, you have to keep and watch my Shabbat, then you can't listen to your father if he tells you to break the Shabbat. And that is the juxtaposition, the connection between Ishimo ve'aviv tirau and Evet Shabbatotai tishmoru according to Rashi. Now, we still need to explain why Hashem chose to put all of these three together, being holy, revering one's parents, observing the Shabbat. And it must be that they share some sort of common thread. And we're going to find the intimate, enduring connection between these three mitzvot. So let's start with the first two. First mitzvah is Kedoshim to you shall be holy. And the mitzvah of Ishimo ve'aviv tirau is the second mitzvah of revering your parents. There is a fascinating midrash in Midrash Tanchuma with regards to this pasuk, Kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani Hashem Elokechem. And according to Midrash, HaKadosh Baruch Hu demands this kedusha of us. Why? Because we descend from Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, according to the Zohar HaKadosh and many, many holy books, is the source of all the neshamot of Am Yisrael. And that's why we are named Bnei Yisrael. That's why we're named the children of Israel. Yisrael being Yaakov's second name. He was the epitome of perfection. All of his children were righteous. And the Midrash brings this down. In fact, the Midrash is really amazing. Where Hashem said to Bnei Yisrael that, this is what the Midrash says, before I created the world, the angels were praising my name through you. And the Midrash goes on to say, when Adam HaRishon was created, the angel said, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the Universe, is this the one? Is this the person who we are praising you? And he said, no, bad person. He's a thief. That person's a thief. Pasuk says, you ate from the tree. You weren't allowed to eat from the tree. You are a thief. So when Noah was born, the angels, it's all in the Midrash. Noah was born. The angels looked at God and God said, they told, is this the guy? Is this the guy who we're praising for? Nah, him, not a chance. He's a drunkard. This guy just drinks wine, does things that you're not supposed to do, follow the guy, ends up naked. No, that's not him either. Abraham was born. Abraham was born. The angels say to God, is this the guy? Is this the person who we're praising you? And Hashem said, no. He's a stranger. From him, Ishmael came out. That's not the one either. Then Yitzchak was born. Same question. Is this the one? They said, this guy, he loves my enemy. Vayehav Yitzchak et Esav. Yitzchak loved Esav. How can this be the guy? When Yaakov was born, they finally asked Hashem, is this the one? And he says, yes, this is the one who you're praising me for. As your name should no longer be called Yaakov, Kim Yisrael Yeshemecha. And at that time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sanctified Bnei Yisrael for his name. And through Yaakov, that's how the Am Yisrael becomes Kadosh, and the Kedoshim to you comes through there. Now, R Pinchas Friedman has an unbelievable chidush that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about tonight. And he's going to take us and fast forward us all the way to Parashat Ki Tetzeh to talk about the Ben Sorer Umoreh, the wayward, rebellious son, and how he connects Kedoshim to you to Ish Imo ve'aviv tirau. He says you have to look at these four pesukim of the Ben Sorer Umoreh. So let's read it. Ki yeh le'ish Ben Sorer Umoreh if a man has a wayward, rebellious son, who does not listen to the voice of his father and his mother, they discipline him, but he doesn't listen. So the parents grab him. They take him to the elders of the city and the gate of his place. And they tell the elders, this son of ours is wayward, he's rebellious. He does not listen to us. He's a glutton and a guzzler. All the men of his city shall pelt him with stones, and he shall die. And you shall destroy the evil from your midst. Okay, and all Bnei Israel shall hear, and they shall fear. Now, Rashi, here on this, who's quoting the Mishnah in a related discussion, the Gemara, he says that who are these zekenim that they bring him in front of? It's a bedin. They bring him in front of a bedin, a court of 3 judges, and if he still transgresses him, first they give him makot, they flog him. And a ben sorer umoreh, in order to be chayav, needs to steal and eat what he calls a tartemar. A tartemar is 8 ounces of a mouthful of meat, and half a log, which is about between 12 or 21 ounces of wine in one shot. That's what a glutton and a guzzler means. That's what a zolel vesove is. Then Rashi says that the reason why we kill this rebellious child is because of the end, of his end. The Torah foresaw the culmination of his way of thinking. This guy was not going to end up in a good place. And in the end, this boy is going to exhaust all of his father's money, and he's going to seek to maintain these evil habits. He's not going to find ways to correct himself. And he's going to end up with no money. He's going to now stand at crossroads and rob people outwardly, and it's just going to go downward and downward and downward. So Torah says, Rashi says, let him die as an innocent person now and not die as a guilty person later. So this is a massive hidush here regarding the laws of Ben Sorer Moreh that we don't find anywhere else in the Torah. We're basically instructed to kill a person, a child, who is still innocent. That's what we're saying right now. Still innocent. If someone is accused of murdering someone, okay, and you can have a whole bunch of different people claiming that he saw it at different times, the guy's not guilty. But this child, who is a glutton and a drinker, a guzzler, he's killed for this just because he's rebelling. He didn't do anything wrong yet. Not any major wrong yet. But we know what's going to be. Let him die innocent. Let him not die when it's guilty. So Chachamim attests to the fact that he's still innocent. And he's still put to death. Because in the end, it's clear he's going to rob people, kill them, and deserve death penalty. Now, this is the reason that the Chachamim tell us, in reality, it's impossible to ever convict a son of being wayward or rebellious, because the conditions that are required to make this boy guilty of or chayav mita are extremely stringent and excessive. And that's why the 2 Tanaim in the Mishnah said that a ben sorer umoreh, a rebellious wayward son, never was and never will be. It never happened in the history. And the reason that this parasha is in the Torah, there's only one reason, simply for the sake of studying it and being rewarded. But it never took place. And Rabbi Yehuda in the Gemara says, Im lo hayta imo shaveh le'aviv bekol uvmareh uvkoma, eno naaseh ben sorer umoreh. Says Rabbi Yehuda, if the mother did not have a similar voice to the father, or if the mother didn't look like the father, or wasn't the same height as the father, he cannot become a sorer umoreh. That's a criteria. Mai ta'ama, why not? What's the reason? The Amar Kra, the Pasuk says, Enenu shomea bekolenu. He did not hear our voice. Meaning the voices had to be the same. And midekol ba'inan shavin, mareve komaname ba'inan shavin. And since from the fact that we require the voices to be similar, so too their appearance has to be similar and their height has to be similar. In other words, even if the son is a glutton, even if the son is a guzzler, he does not listen to his parents, nevertheless, the verdict of the Ben Sorer Moreh demands that the parents have a similar voice, similar appearance, similar height, and seeing that this is very unlikely, the Gemara says, well, it can't happen. The Tanya Ben Sorer Moreh lo haya velo atid liot. It never was, never will be. Velama nichtav. So why is it written? So Gemara answers, Darush vekiber sachar. Learn it and receive reward. That's what it was. That's the reason why we have Ben Sorer Moreh. So seeing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw fit to include 4 pesukim pertaining to Ben Sorer Moreh in the Torah, okay, we should learn about it. And not only that, we'll receive a reward. We know it didn't happen. We know it never will happen. So let's learn about it. So look what he says. He says there's a teaching brought down by the Shem Shmuel. And he emphasizes the importance of maintaining a relationship, the importance of the relationship between parents and children, even when children, Has v'Shalom, have been corrupted, even when children have gone off the path or gone astray, and they're no longer in the fold. And he says it's important to maintain a relationship at all times. And he quotes a Gemara in Sanhedrin that says, Ben Sorer Moreh, sheratzu avi ve'imo limcholo mohalin. If there was a wayward and rebellious son, but the parents wanted to pardon him, they are allowed to pardon him. Now, he asks a question because he finds it a little bit surprising. After all, this child was put to death just because he rebelled against his parents. Right? In the words of Rashi, like we said, the Torah foresaw what this guy's end was going to be. He's going to exhaust all of his father's money. He's going to maintain his habit. He's going to go to the crossroads. He's going to rob from people. And therefore, let him die now innocent, then let him die guilty. If that's the case, what good does it do if his parents forgive him? So what? So what if the parents pardon him? He's still likely to present a danger. He's still likely to go on the road and rob from people. It doesn't solve the problem. He's still going to be a nuisance to the public. So the Shem Shmuel, based on the Tanya, he says the following: Every Jew throughout history has inherits an innate holy connection to our Avot HaKedoshim, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. These 3 components, Ruach, Nefesh, and Neshama. And due to that inheritance, every Jew has a hidden love, an ahava, to sacrifice that love for whatever it takes for Kedushat Hashem, for the holiness of God. And the problem is that nowadays we are in this deep slumber. Okay, all of us are spiritually asleep, and it is that kedusha is covered, it's concealed by our ta'avot, by our desires, by materialistic things, our cravings, our aspirations, or the money, whatever it is, it's all being covered. And the charms of Olam Hazeh. Now, we're still called Israel. As a Jewish people, we're still a holy nation because we all descend from Yaakov Avinu. After all, Yaakov is the combination of Abraham and Yitzchak, right? Abraham being the midav chesed on the right, and Yitzchak being the midav geburah, strict judgment, on the left, and Yaakov is tiferet. Tiferet is the middle, and that incorporates both chesed and geburah. So by being connected to Yaakov Avinu, who is the pinnacle of the family tree of Am Yisrael, we are all connected to the 3 avot. And that's what Shlomo Melech says in Kohelet, V'hachut hameshulash lo bimhera yenatik. The 3-ply cord will not be severed easily. Because once you have the 3 plies, which Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, you can't break it. And Yaakov is the determining factor. He's the one that strengthens the other 2 being tiferet. Now the Baal Tanya writes that every Jew in every generation inherits the traits of the Avot in some way or another, each person on their own individual level. And that's what we should actually have in mind when we say in our Amidah, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov. That's what we should be thinking. that I want to inherit the traits, those holy traits of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov individually. That's why we say it individually and not Elohe Avot, right? We say there's Abraham, there's Elohe Yitzhak, and there's Elohe Yaakov, because each one is special. He goes on to say the Baal Tanya that there's also traits of the Shebatim, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, but those are not inherited by everyone. Those are very select few were able to get those. But as far as the Avot, the attributes of the Avot, they are present in every Jew, and they must be present in every Jew, because that connects us to the source. That connects us to the roots. Our neshama is mamash. That cord is what connects us. And this is the meaning of the Midrash that says in the Tanakh of Eliyahu, Shekol echad ve'echad miYisrael chayav lomar, every Jew must always remind himself and say, Matai yagi ma'asai le'maaseh Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. When are my deeds going to be compared or equal the actions of Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov? That's the reason why we read the stories in Sefer Bereshit, is because I want the lessons that were imparted by them that we read to be applied to myself. I want to apply to myself and to my children and to our teaching it to. That's my ma'asai. Those are my ma'asim that I'm doing. In other words, every Jew must ascend the ladder of Torah mitzvot, the ladder of Gemilut Chasadim, in an effort to connect themselves to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, who's the root of their own neshama. And by doing so, your neshama becomes illuminated, it gets brightened, it becomes shinier, and enables you to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in both yirah and ava, and reverence and love. And in fact, we see an allusion to this in Parashat Yitro. Prior to Matan Torah, we just read not long ago, and we're going to read it again soon after Shavuot. The Torah tells us, Ve'ata im shamoa tishme'u be'koli, Hashem says, and now if you will listen to my voice, ushmartem et beriti, and keep my covenant, v'yitem li segula mikol ha'amim, you will be a segula from all peoples, kili kol ha'aretz, for all of earth is mine, ve'atem tiyu li mamlechet kohanim ve'gor kadosh, you shall be to me a kingdom of kohanim and a holy nation. Says the Shem Shmuel, v'yitem li segula. What does it mean, segula? You shall be for me a segula. So he says, kemo nekudat segol. This is like the punctuation of the segol. The segol is the eh sound. We have quite a few eh sounds, but segol is the one that looks like three, looks like a triangle, right? That's a segol. That Shem Shmuel says, no matter which direction you look at the segol, if you flip it, it still looks the same. So no matter which way you turn, it retains the same shape. So Am Yisrael is always holy, regardless of whether they're down, regardless of whether they're up. Not only that, the term segula is also related to segol, being a triangular vowel, which is comprised of three dots. The segol alludes to the three holy avot. Each dot is another one of our forefathers. The two upper dots, Abraham and Yitzchak. Abraham's on the right, and Yitzchak is on the left. Right being chesed, left being gvura. The bottom dot, which is situated exactly midway between the top two, that is alluding to Yaakov, which is the midah of Tiferet. Tiferet, like we said, combines both the chesed and the gevurah. And that is this source of the Jew. V'yitem li segula mikol amim. We're designated as a nation of segula amongst all the people. So says the Shem Shmuel, now he reconciles the statement of the Gemara, a ben sorer umoreh, whose parents wish to pardon him, they may pardon him. And he says that the reason the Torah concludes that nothing good is going to come out of this child, and the reason that this child is for sure going to pursue more criminal activities, and he's going to be a danger to society, is because his parents didn't forgive him. And because the parents didn't bring him back, even though he rebelled against them. The disconnect that his parents let continue basically secured the cutoff and the disconnect between that child and the holy avot, and Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And as a result, there is no way for this guy to do teshuvah, because he's got no connection anymore. His neshama is totally cut off. But if the parents were to forgive him for his rebellious ways, then the connection of this ben sorer umoreh, he's wayward, he's rebellious, but the connection is still there. It could be reestablished. He could do teshuvah, and he can do a tikkun for his mistakes. And that's why the Gemara says, don't worry, such a child never was and never will be. And it was only there to be expounded and rewarded. The mitzvah, the importance of the mitzvah, kibud avayim, and fearing one's parents are the foundation of the entire Torah. In that merit, we connect our neshamot to the holy avot. It enables us to follow the footsteps and create this huge bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's how we connect ourselves to avot. I fear my parents, and I won't break that bond. And if I don't fear my parents, but my parents are willing to forgive me, I still don't break that bond. And every parent deep down loves their child. And no matter how far they go to either side, I'm always going to bring them back in. Because I need to keep that connection. I need to keep that. And it never happened and never will happen that we have a situation of a wayward child. And in fact, there's a Gemara Masechet Ketubot, which actually kind of supports this idea, that talks about, Shmuel said to Rabbi Yehuda, he said the following, Lo tehave ba'avure achsanta. Do not be present when an inheritance is being transferred, mibara bisha lebara tava, even if it's from a bad son to a good son. De lo yadia maizara nafik minei, because we don't know what kind of offspring will come from him. Maybe this bad son who's inheriting will still have exemplary children and righteous children. In Shulchan Aruch, in Choshe Mishpat, says that anyone who gives his possessions to others and excludes the rightful inheritors, the Chachamim do not condone such a transaction. And not only that if it meant that the person receiving it was a rasha, but if it's rightfully his, it's rightfully his. And don't go out there and say and make a protest. Now, at first glance, it really seems incomprehensible. We defend Torah almost at all costs. We're discussing a case which a man has two sons. One of them is a beloved pious Talmid Chacham, God-fearing. The other guy is a Barabisha, which is a wicked son. He's a Rasha. He does not listen to the Torah, does not study Torah, does not keep the mitzvot. And yet Shmuel goes and tells Rabbi Yoshua, and he cautions him, don't be a party to the transfer of that inheritance from the rightful heir who is wicked to a good son. If the wicked son is really the rightful heir, then it's got to go to him and not to the good son. Why? Because maybe that wicked son is going to have another son, a grandchild, who's going to be a tzaddik. He's going to be pulled in by a kiruv organization. And the question is, again, what is the likelihood that that's going to happen? What's the likelihood that this wicked son is going to have and father good children? If he doesn't live a Torah and mitzvot, if he does not raise his children with the ways of the Torah and mitzvot, very unlikely. It's very, very minimal. Nevertheless, if you apply the lesson of the Shem Shmuel, then it makes sense. Because by transferring the inheritance to the wicked son, the father is demonstrating what? I still believe in my son. If I choose not to, if I say, forget about you, you're done, I want to give it to my pious son. But I'm the older one, I deserve double, let's say, right? Doesn't matter. If he's unsympathetic, and he doesn't care, and he doesn't forgive him for the distress and the evil that he caused him, what do you think is going to happen? Not only are you taking away his physical inheritance, but his spiritual inheritance is gone as well. He's severing this son's connection to the Avot. He's cutting him off from Jewish society. But if the father overcomes that attitude and forgives his son and says, right now, I know you're not keeping the Torah mitzvot, but this is deservingly yours. This belongs to you. Then he reconnects his son with that lineage right back up to the Avot. And there's hope that he can perform teshuvah. And that's what Shmuel said to Rabbi Yehuda and the Gemara. We don't know what kind of offspring will come from him. It's specifically because his father forgave him that it's likely that good offspring was going to descend from him in the merit of the zechut avot, that connection that comes from the avot that was now restored. So therefore, now it's coming together now. We have this mitzvah of Kedoshim Tihu, that you shall be holy. You have the mitzvah of Ishimo v'aviv tirau, The Midrash Tanchuma says that God demands that we are kadosh. He demands that we become holy because we descend from Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu is the one that encompasses all the kedusha amongst the holy avot as one. Doesn't mean that Abraham and Yitzchak didn't have their own kedusha, but he encompassed it all. And therefore, in order not to sever, in order not to corrupt this connection, therefore, Ishimo ve'aviv tirau. You want to be kadosh because I'm kadosh. Hashem says, you want to be kadosh. Ishimo ve'aviv tirau. Fear your mother and your father. Every Jew must fear their parents. Every Jew must not dishonor them. And that's the way that we remain connected to the source of a kedusha through our lineage. Through the connection of that kedusha, every Jew can sanctify himself with God's kedusha. So that's the connection between Kedoshim to you and Ishimo ve'aviv tirau. We said that there was a third mitzvah, the mitzvah of Shabbat. And he explains the beautiful connection between the three mitzvot, Kedoshim to you, Ishimo, and Ve'et Shabbatotai Tishmoru. This one you've probably heard me speak about before, if not me, others. The Gemara Masechet Shabbat says that in essence, Shabbat Kodesh is our heritage from Yaakov Avinu, directly from Yaakov Avinu. The Gemara says, Kol ha'me'aneg et Shabbat, notnin lo nachala beli mesarim. Whoever delights in the Shabbat is rewarded with a portion without boundaries. Meaning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you lots of beracha. Good, you buy yourself good meat, you buy yourself good wine, you put yourself nice tablecloth, nice cutlery, everything that you show Shabbat, you honor Shabbat. This is what Oneg Shabbat, Me'aneg Shabbat. Oneg Shabbat is not just what you feel, how you're satisfied, that's also important, but also what you show Hashem in your table, in your house. Kol Me'aneg Shabbat, Hashem is going to double it, he's going to triple it, he's going to give Nahala Beli Metzarim. No borders. It's just, the beracha is going to come in. Shene'emar, Az tit'ana gal Adonai, then you will delight in Hashem. Vehirkavticha al bamot haaretz, I will mount you on the heights of the world. Veha'achalticha nahalat Yaakov avicha, and I will provide you the heritage of your forefather Yaakov Avinu. Now, seeing that Yaakov incorporates the virtues, the kedusha of all the three avot, like we said, and his heritage, his Shabbat Kodesh, also incorporates the essence of the three avot. The Zohar HaKadosh says, we Moroccans, we have the custom to even mention this very specifically, that the three meals of Shabbat correspond to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Right? We always say, prepare the bread, bishutchem, bishut Yitzchak Avinu, Ba'al HaSeudah. Bishut Yaakov Avinu, bishut Abraham Avinu. So Yitzchak Avinu is the night Seudah. Because night is darkness, is Gevurah. Right? Things are not so bright. At night, there's more din at night. So that's Yitzchak. Bishut Yitzchak Avinu. The daytime is chesed. Light means goodness. We say Bishut Abraham Avinu Ba'al HaSeudah. And the afternoon, Seudah Shalishit, is Yaakov. That's why it's in the afternoon when it's starting to get dark and not fully light. Because Yaakov is a combination of both Yitzchak and Abraham. Right? And that's, again, the segol. The two on top, two opposites, and then Yaakov smack in the middle. So that's the three meals that we eat on Shabbat. Right? And by the way, you should know that Seudah Shalishit, according to the very holy books of Kabbalah, I'll just word it this way. It's not treated with as much importance as it should be treated. We'll leave it at that. It's a very, very holy seudah that should be eaten, with lechem, with bread and fish and whatever. So, so something that we need, people sometimes need chizuk about. But okay, that's for a different time. The Gemara tells us, Neshama yetera noten HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'adam be'erev Shabbat. Hashem gives every Jew an extra neshama on Erev Shabbat. He inserts it in us. Motzei Shabbat notli notai menu, and he retrieves it from him on Motzei Shabbat. Where does this neshama come from? So based on what we learned, it must come from Yaakov Avinu. He is the one that encompasses all the kedusha. He's the root of the neshamot. He's the pinnacle of the family tree. That's where it must come from. Since Shabbat is his heritage, Nahalat Yaakov Avicha, like we said, he is the amalgamation of all three avot. we receive that neshama yetera, incorporating the essence of all three avot, the merit of the kedusha of Shabbat, which incorporates all the kedusha of the three avot. So says the Zohar HaKadosh something beautiful. He said, if you look at the word Shabbat, it actually alludes to the amazing relationship between the three avot and all of Klal Yisrael. If you take the letter Shin, the letter Shin has three prongs, three stems, right? That's the three avot, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's the reason why we have the Shin on our tefillin. The other four is for the four imahot. The three is Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. What are the next two letters? Bet and Taf. Bet and Taf is Bat. Bat means a daughter, alluding to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's only daughter, which is Bnei Israel, is the daughter of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And together they form Shabbat. So through the Avot and Bnei Israel keeping the Shabbat, it's the Kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we see now the innate connection between the mitzvot at the beginning of our parasha. Kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani Hashem Elokechem. There's a kedusha that is transcending, that is going all the way up and connecting all the way to Yaakov Avinu, who's the pinnacle of our family tree, who encompasses all the kedusha of three avot. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu admonishes us, and he says, Ishimo v'aviv tirau. We have an obligation to revere our parents. We have an obligation not to dishonor them. And we do this because we need to keep that connection that extends back to the avot. And again, it's not only incumbent on the child, like we learned. It's not just on the child not to not disrespect his parents, but as well, it's for the parents to allow that opening to allow the child to come back in. The parents can never close the door on a child, never, and because doing so is God forbid, is rupturing that tendon that connects us, that rope, Yaakov Chevel Nahalato, which is another, by the way, allusion to all this. And therefore, it's incumbent upon the parents to be always willing and ready to bring their child back in. And we learned that from the Ben Soror Moreh, like we said. So therefore, by observing the mitzvot of honoring and fearing our parents, we ensure that pipe, that conduit that connects us and the holy avot remains intact. And at the same time, we add one more dimension. We add the dimension of the third mitzvah, Vet Shabbatotai Tishmoru, by keeping the Shabbat, by observing the Shabbat, by fulfilling the mitzvot, by enjoying your Shabbat meals, by having lechem mishneh, by having good Moroccan salads or fresh salads or whatever it is, fish and meats and whatever it is that you buy, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He provides you beli metzarim without no limit. He just expands, and through that, through the physical, we are able to achieve a tremendous level of kedusha, and all of that makes us holy people. That's why we are an am kadosh, mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh. That's what makes us an am segula. Ve'atem tiyulim mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh, and kedoshim tiyu. It all connects, and bezat Hashem, through that we should be zocheh, through these mitzvot, each on their own, to develop and fulfill this very important yet very holy mitzvah. Wishing everybody a wonderful night. Be well.